Kot smo napovedali, bo webinar potekal v angleškem jeziku, zato bom sedaj nadaljevala v angleščini. So it's my great pleasure to welcome and announce the webinar guest and the lecturer, Mr. Bjarne Brynk Jensen, who is founder and owner of Brynk Business Academy in Denmark. Mr. Jensen is internationally active as a workshop coordinator for the German Chamber of Commerce. And he leads global workshops on topics such as international sales strategies, and sales management. Today's webinar, entitled How to Enter Successfully the DACH Market After COVID-19, will take place in 2 parts, and after each part, you, dear participants, will be invited to ask the questions. Nevertheless, whether you will have a burning question during the lecture, you can type it immediately in the webinar chat. As already mentioned, the webinar will be recorded and published within the communication platform of our chamber. And now I am kindly giving the word to Mr. Jensen and inviting him to share the e-lecture. So, Mr. Jensen, Bjarne, please. Just a moment, I have to just to give you the
now you can hear me, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So it's a pleasure being back in Slovenia, although it's only digital. And thank you for inviting me both to the AHK and also SPIRIT Slovenija. I have had the pleasure to actually be together with you in different workshops in Slovenia. And to me, doing it as a webinar or an online meeting is, of course, the only way we can do it at the moment. But it's only the second best. There's no question to me, being out there and being together with you is of course priority number 1. And this morning when I was taking my coffee, a big cup of coffee, I was thinking that workshops for me, and especially on this topic, is my favorite. I mean, talking about export and intercultural differences is my favorite. Doing it in a webinar, I would compare it with instant coffee. It's okay, but it's not the same thing. So the format here is a webinar, but I would like to have it as close as possible to the real thing, being in the same room with you. So my topic today is, like you can see here, it's the puzzle, the jigsaw puzzle. How do we get the pieces to fit together? And I assume that you see me enlarged, right, Tina, in your screen? You're muted right now. I don't hear you.
Yeah, we can see now also Miss Andrea Mulec-Bohins. Yeah, perfect. Now we can see you. Yeah, welcome.
Okay. So you see me enlarged and you can see the signs, right?
Yeah, maybe just Miss Bohins, if you can maybe just switch off your camera for now, so that, yeah. Thank you.
So
okay.
now I'm in the picture.
Yeah.
Great. So I wanted just to test it, because what I don't want to do is have a webinar where it's only a PowerPoint. So you will see me holding signs into the camera, and those signs I'm happy to make copies of, but you also have the video to go over this again. But what I wanted to do is talk to you today about my favorite topic is export, but of course the extra dimension of the COVID-19 makes it a difficult thing, because let's not be naive. The COVID-19 will mean that there is a company struggling in your own country and Germany. And how can we then talk about export opportunities? That is what I would like to talk to you about today. What kind of opportunities are actually created by the COVID-19? So not despite the COVID-19, but also because of the COVID-19, there's new opportunities. That needs explanation, and that's going to be part 1. So I'm going to take in part 1 a little helicopter view and look at what are the political situation that gives opportunities, what are the macroeconomic situation and no boring presentation, but more just an overall picture. Then we go into the microeconomics. What on the psychological level, how do we need to approach our clients so that the puzzle fits? Because there's no question we're putting together a jigsaw puzzle. So that is the kind of format that I would like to do. And as I said, it's the instant coffee. Ideally, I would be in front of you, but hopefully we can repeat that some other day and do a workshop in Slovenia where we can go deeper into the topics. A little bit about myself. I got a short introduction, and thanks for that. I'm sitting here in Denmark, so I'm Danish, but my mother was German, so I call it my Mutterland. It's my Muttersprache, so German is my second language. I'm bilingual, Danish-German. I grew up in the Danish minority just at the border. So in Denmark, we have Danish and German-speaking people on both sides of the border. And I'm coming from the dual cultural background, understanding the Germans, but also understanding how Denmark approaches Germany. But my job has been for the last 15 years, I've been an independent trainer, doing workshops around the world. International sales is my background. I grew up in Germany. Then after my graduation at high school, I went to Denmark to study international marketing. My first job brought me back to Germany to work for a German company, but in Canada. I was asked if I wanted to go to Canada, and I thought it would be nice to go there for a year. It turned out to be 14 years where I lived in Canada and the US. So traveling internationally has always been my background. I've also been an export manager both for German companies and Danish companies. So I would like to share with you not so much a theoretical background, but basically hands-on how I am approaching clients in Germany, clients from Germany into the rest of the world. Now, please, feedback is important. So like Tina already said, please just interrupt me, write some questions in the chat. And that to me is kind of a feedback so that we know, are we on the right track? Is this a topic that you would like me to dig deeper into? So feedback is important, and you can do that by raising your hand virtually so that Tina knows that you would like to ask something. Then your microphone will get unmuted, and then we can have a short discussion. You can also write things in the chat, and then we will either see if it's a topic that we need to address right away, or at the end where we also have a little bit of a Q&A session. So feedback in that way is great. But also if there's some topic we don't cover today, feel free to contact me also afterwards, because an hour is not very much if we go through all the topics. And being interactive is important to me because I was talking to Tina earlier on when in the 70s and 80s in Denmark, fondue was quite popular, where everyone sits at the table and cooking his own dinner at the table. So everyone is responsible for having a good food experience. The same way I would encourage you to participate with maybe even examples you had. So if I'm reaching a topic where you said, oh, you recognize that as a challenge working with Germany, write that in the chat. This way, the other participants will also get your comments and your advice. So I'm not just the only one talking, you can actually talk amongst each other. So that a little bit to the way we're doing it. The camera culture, I like people normally to have the camera on, but that would create, like you saw, a little bit of a disturbance in the way we're displaying the online meeting. But I find that if you have a question, please also not just get unmuted, but also show your face on the camera. This way we can have a short conversation during the online meeting. But let's get back to giving you an overview. Now, I have to tell you a little bit a story. Because I had a conversation 2 weeks ago. Because of the lockdown, I call up authors or politicians here in Denmark. And the funny thing is that I'm reaching out to authors or politicians or thought leaders that normally you would never be able to approach. But because of the lockdown, they're in the home office themselves. So I called up a Danish author. She has written several books. Lykke Friis is her name. She has been a journalist, a correspondent in Berlin. So she has a suitcase in Berlin, is her book called, where she analyzes the political situation in Germany. She as well has a German background, and her quote here in Denmark is famous because we often get asked by Danish exporters, should I talk English or German in Germany? And her response was that, well, mit Englisch kommst du durch, mit Deutsch kommst du weiter. So basically meaning that, yeah, you can get along in English, but if you really want to get under the skin and get close to Germans in a business relationship, there's no question that German is the way to go. So she was famous for that quote, but she also wrote a book about the German wall when it came down in '89, and I happened to be an exchange student from Denmark living in DDR. So she was also a former Minister of Energy and Environment, and had an interview with me about the wall coming down. And so when I interviewed her 2 weeks ago, I put a sign like this and said, well, the 3 topics I would like to talk about is Mutterland, our common motherland. How does it look right now? I would like to talk about the Mauerfall, but also currywurst. And that is maybe 3 strange topics but that I need to explain. But the motherland is, we're very, very concerned about what's happening in Germany. So not being able to travel over the border, not knowing what's going on, I had a conversation with her. And we also talked about the Mauerfall, and in '89, what we experienced together was that when the wall came down, that was a year of hope. So everyone was excited, everyone going to Eastern Europe, exporting to Eastern Europe because it opened up. So it was really the year of the hope. Then came the financial crisis in 2009, and it became clear that the only economic way to grow, so on a macroeconomic level, was outsourcing to the BRIC countries, China especially. So from a Danish perspective, and I'm quite sure it's similar in Slovenia, but also from a German perspective, the growth strategies that we had at that time was growing through outsourcing. And her biggest concern as a politician and a historian, as she is as well, is that we're right now, because of the COVID-19, we're actually seeing the insourcing, the protectionism taking place. And in the midst of protecting your country or your supply chain management, we stumbled over a few things that actually could be an opportunity for the neighboring countries, because Germany is really struggling in certain areas to meet the demand. So the supply chain right now, if you even look at the news a week ago, there was a slaughtery in Germany that had COVID-19 incidents through their workers. So they have to shut down factories. The supermarkets are struggling to find suppliers within Germany even. So they're looking at the neighboring countries, and a lot of other supply chain managers are locking down their supply chain, especially coming from China, because of one word that pops up all the time, Liefersicherheit. So Lykke Friis and I discussed that if we look at the webinars in the German chambers in Germany, or the topics that are number 1, then Liefersicherheit is number 1, and the other topic is digitalization. How has the COVID-19 actually showed us that we're able to do business online? Online through online meetings, through webinars, like we're doing it right now. But in general, Liefersicherheit was topic number 1. So in order to meet the demand for more Liefersicherheit, we looked at and said the neighboring countries, if we now, when the border opens, are talking about Lieferpartnerschaft as the puzzle that fits, then that could be the opportunities that we have. But looking at the overall from a Danish perspective, and I'm allowing myself to look at Germany from a Danish perspective, but being partly German myself, I would like to introduce you to one word. It's basically my favorite word in Germany. So if I were a teacher, I would probably write one word on the blackboard, and that is the German word Kopfkino. I know that some of you are quite familiar with the German language, but if you're not familiar with it, the Kopfkino is a word that I can't translate into Danish. And I'm even struggling in English to translate it. But Kopf means head, and Kino means cinema or movie. Now, the German Kopfkino is a great expression because in Denmark, we tend to forget that we can use the same word, but a different culture, and especially in Germany, might have a different meaning. And if we take Kopfkino again and use the word innovation, it's a word that sounds similar in Danish, innovation, or innovation in English, or innovation in German. Now, innovation in Denmark immediately has pictures of trying out new things, thinking out of the box, whereas Germans are not necessarily changing everything, they're taking small bits and improving it. So innovation could mean improvement in Germany, and in Denmark it means completely redesigning, thinking out of the box. And an engineer from Denmark is happy going to Germany, to Munich, with a new idea that's 80% finished. And well, the German Kopfkino immediately has another picture I have to introduce you to, das Haar in der Suppe. Now, a German engineer will also be excited, but immediately look at, okay, what can go wrong? So they will look for the possibilities that there might be a hair in the soup. So that's an expression that I'm trying to introduce to people in Denmark. And maybe that is also a picture that is meaningful to you. If you look at you're inventing, and I looked at some of your homepages, you're also talking about innovation and exceeding people's expectations, being maybe creative. So if I'm looking at your websites, you're also using some of the words that might mean something in the Slovenian context or Kopfkino, but a totally different approach in Germany. So these are the overall things we need to look at. So yes, there are opportunities right now in the COVID-19 because supply chain management is changing, but we need to understand and respect that the Germans have a different Kopfkino, a different expectation when it comes to security, safety, and Sicherheit, Liefersicherheit, which means supply chain safety or security, does not just relate to just-in-time delivery. So this is more the overall picture I wanted to give you before I'm going into the second part, where I want to give you some microeconomic examples of how should we then adjust our marketing. But Tina, I'm gonna just stop for a second to see if there's any questions. Maybe you can come on here as well, because I cannot monitor the chat at the same time.
Yeah, thank you, Bjarne. Dear ladies and gentlemen, you are absolutely welcome to give a question to Bjarne. Just please click on your microphone unmute so that you will be, and also maybe to show you with the camera, so camera on. And now I will be silent, and yeah, we are waiting for you a few moments so to ask a question. Thanks.
Okay. If you have questions, you can, as I said, just raise your hand. If you don't have questions or you don't feel comfortable asking questions right now, you can just write a comment in the text file right now. So I know that you have to warm up to opening up when everyone else is listening in, but I just wanted to give you a chance so that I'm not just rambling on, but giving you an opportunity to also challenge me. Because looking at and even claiming that there's opportunities in Germany at the moment, you might have a totally different experience. And if I'm talking to Danes here in Denmark about opportunities in Germany, they're saying, well, we can't even get an appointment. And I will get back to that as well, because on one hand, the buyers are looking for new suppliers, but it's hard to get through to them. And that's why I would like to, in the next section, talk a little bit about how should you do that. Good. No questions so far, then I will just continue. But as I said, please ask questions, comment, or challenge me on it. Share your experience with it. When I look more on the microeconomic level, I also look at people's behavior. So the psychological aspect of it, I more talked about the macroeconomic and the political aspects, and that we can see there is a trend right now towards insourcing. But what does that mean on a microeconomic level? So when you're dealing with a company or an individual or a buyer, what does that mean? First of all, if you look at humans' behavior, a simple model that everyone knows, and people that have been in my workshop will recognize this picture. I always say that I took the Maslow's pyramid and created a motivation cupboard here. And what you see here is that we have basic needs at the lower part, but the next level is already safety. If we're looking at human beings, we really want to be safe, and we need to have basic needs fulfilled. Otherwise, we will not look for anything in the topper part of the pyramid, or in this case, the cupboard. Now, social relations are important to any human being, and but if we're just looking at the German context, when it comes to business relationships, people tend to say sachlich, fachlich erst, and then the personal part. So you might want to build a social relationship with a buyer, but very often you're always judged by how your references or technical things. So be careful that we're not trying to use the same pyramid in a German context. The next thing is that success. Yes, people want to make money. And yes, they also want development in the upper part. So when we're talking about convincing people in COVID-19, all of a sudden words as innovation, and I know that you're using that on your website as well, innovation immediately creates, or changing things immediately creates the fear of what can go wrong, das Haar in der Suppe. So when you take Maslow's pyramid or the motivation chest, we need to recognize that in COVID-19, we're all a little bit careful about expanding, trying new things. You might even feel it yourself. Going online for me, doing webinars, is something I had to get used to. So my safety drawer, security drawer, opened up. I felt uncomfortable. I had to get used to it. So if we're looking at human beings, and again, you need to understand what's going on in a brain. In any crisis, the amygdala in your brain, it's two almond-shaped parts in your brain, is kind of the alarm bell. So das Haar in der Suppe, like I said, the loop you're using to find the difficulties, you might potentially even have a bigger one because you're nervous at changing things. So approaching anyone, you have to be careful in your language, that you're not, in your communication, in your marketing, that if you're approaching your clients, you're not activating the alarm bell. Contrary to that, we actually want to find out what are the soothing words, what are the things that people feel comfortable about. And I asked Tina to let me know what the Slovenian natural competencies are. What is the image? What are you known for? Because there's no question that you have industries in every country where your neighboring countries would say, oh yeah, I trust that Denmark is good supplying these things. Everyone knows we're good in dairy products or furniture, or we also have a big industry for toys, Lego, for instance. So when I looked at the Danish natural competencies, if I should give advice on Danes going to Germany, I would say that these are the natürliche Kompetenzen that we have. So as I said, we have food, we have design, we have health, we have environment, and we have family related products. Now, when it comes to food, and I looked at the websites, there's no food company amongst you, but if I were a supplier of food, I would right now approach Germans with sample and saying, well, Liefersicherheit is important, but food safety is also important. Dealing with food safety, Denmark is known as a natural place to go when it comes to food safety and health regulations. So in these aspects, I can put myself on top of the priority list of a German buyer by saying I could be an alternative. because German buyers right now are looking for plan B, and that is your opportunity. The minute the border opens, we have to find out what kind of plan B, when it comes to their supply chain, do German buyers look for. Now, plan B, let's say you would sell an apple, just as an example, to Aldi, and you would say, well, doppelt hält besser. So one saying that the Germans have, and if you notice something peculiar in this apple, is that it has two stems. So most likely it will stick a little bit better to the tree. And the same kind of logic goes to any buyer. You have a primary supplier that might be in China, the one that you're squeezing for margins, squeezing on price. You always find someone as your main supplier, and you have a plan B. Very often is the plan B always to negotiate with the main supplier. So this is tough. Anyone having dealt with really potential professional buyers will understand that they're always looking for two suppliers in almost every category. If you're not the category leader, you're squeezed for margins. And that is something that we'll see changes, because all of a sudden the price for buying your products abroad in Asia, for instance, well, all of a sudden the price of the entity is not just determined by the entity price, but also the risk of not getting it delivered, having safety issues. So I think that what we have to play on right now, and we also see that the price is still going to be a sensitive thing, but we always have to look for what is the alternative. Another marketing claim that still to this day I think is valid in Germany, and you might not necessarily take those marketing claims, but if you look at one marketing claim that I found interesting, is Persil and also Volkswagen back in the 60s and 70s, and still to today, da weiß man, was man hat. So when you choose these, then you know what you're getting yourself into. If I look at your website, some of you are also saying, well, we are the biggest supplier in Slovenia. Well, that shows that you have the capacity, or you've been around for 50 years. So if you actually put that claim a little bit more in front on your presentation material, then you would cater exactly to something they're familiar with. It's within their comfort zone. So if we want to be an alternative supplier to Chinese suppliers, we really need to work on calming, soothing the alarm bell of the supplier by saying, okay, I know that you are struggling with your supply chain management. We could be an alternative, the plan B. And then I claim, Deutsche Bank, Vertrauen ist der Ausgang von allem. So trust is the base for everything. Now, Sympathie und Vertrauen, I always said you have to establish that in any business relationship. But right now, it's not just enough to have sympathy. They also need to trust that you're able to deliver. Sympathy is very often built on personal things. And trust in Germany, again, the base is Sachlichkeit, Fachlichkeit. So what is it that you have to offer? Can you give us the references that we can trust? Is there any technical description, or like a lot of you also have certificates? So you're already catering into what I think is good communication when it comes to companies that are looking for safety as the number one choice. So if price is not the most important, but the safety drawer, then these are the things that on a marketing level we need to pay attention to. So this is just to give you an overview of what is the more on a microeconomic level and marketing level things we need to play on. So this part, I wanted to give you an overview. Okay, what are the opportunities? If we want to go after the opportunities, what kind of marketing, what kind of language do I need to play into? How do I meet the fear of failure or fear of safety right now in the supply chain management? This is not to say that it's going to be easy. It still is a difficult approach. You want to make sure that if you approach them, you somehow use your personal experience on the market, and maybe also a person that already has built trust in order to get you into the market. So the next part I want, in the third part, I actually added, or I divided the second part into two parts. I would like to go into individual go-to-marketing strategies. I would like to want to know, how are you approaching the market? And also, are you doing it directly, or do you have a sales manager, sales partner? So partnerships or managements. In this case, I would again like to take questions, but I would also like to get some examples from the different companies. Now, I don't know if you have questions right now. I don't see anything in the chat. But what I did, I can show you. I looked at each of your websites, or at least some of them, and looking at, okay, what is it actually that you are communicating right now? So looking at that from a Danish perspective, well, this is actually worthy of our envy. And I understand that this is the word that you have for it. So there is even an expression, beneidenswert. From a Danish perspective, you're doing a lot of things that Danish companies are doing wrong. You have mostly everyone has a German homepage. But let's just hear from the companies, and I don't know if you're comfortable with this, but let me just ask some of you to give me a little bit of an indication what kind of individual go-to-market strategy you're using. I will choose two here right now. I see Liva. Is anyone from Liva comfortable just switching on their microphone? Tina, maybe you can help me. I don't know which of the people are.
Yeah, actually, it has been registered to the webinar, but I cannot see the gentleman yet.
Okay.
And so, yeah, maybe
Great.
I can try to contact him.
No, that's fine. I will. Liva was just one example, but I can give it because I looked at the website, and one of the things I can say, die größte Gießerei in Slovenia. And I just wanted to mention what I really like about this, and why. First of all, I always think it's great that you have a German website or a German page, because no matter what, as I said to you, you can get by in English, but you get further in German. And this is not to say that those of you who only have, because a few of you only had an English-speaking website, that's fine. And I think you show that you have international background. That's great. But when the claim, die größte Gießerei in Slowenien, now looking at the current situation in COVID-19, and if they're not here right now, I cannot give them that feedback. But when you have that as your main claim on the front page, that already indicates that you have capacity, and capacity is one component of Liefersicherheit. So if you want to soothe a German buyer, Liefersicherheit is an important issue, and capacity is an important issue. So that, I think I would even work harder on approaching people after the COVID-19 border opens up again. This would be a claim that I would take even a step further. Then we have another one. I don't know if Skaza is listening in. I wanted to take that as an example, maybe because they have a claim exceeding expectation. I don't know if somebody from Skaza is listening in and if they feel comfortable.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, Janja from Skaza.
Hi, Janja. Thank you. Because I like to have, as I said, we want to have the bigger picture, but I think it's nice sometimes to hear what is your background in Germany. I really like that you're exceeding expectation. That, of course, to someone in Denmark is exciting. It's new. But if you're looking at the German Kopfkino, I don't know how much. Do you speak German, by the way?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So when you're meeting Germans prior to COVID-19, what are the things that they are excited about by sharing your exceeding the expectations? I love that claim, by the way.
Thank you very much. Yeah, well, what my feedback from the market is that actually when we say exceeding expectations is meeting how to save their pain. So where is their pain located at, and just trying to change that and trying to fix their problem.
Okay. So, and here we always have to look at two things, because in COVID-19, exceeding my expectations is almost too much. And you can see prior to COVID, that would be fine. Today, I don't necessarily to be exceeded in my expectations. Yes, I would like to, if I was your partner in Germany, I would like to surprise my clients, but I don't like to be surprised myself. So that's why I wanted to just give you an example that prior to COVID-19, that claim has a positive connotation. Mm-hmm. Right now, I need Liefersicherheit. So together with you, I would like to surprise my clients or exceed their expectations. So the same claim, all of a sudden, the Kopfkino changes. Do you see my point? So
yes, it's very interesting.
And so what is your market approach? Are you selling directly, or do you have sales partners in Germany?
We actually sell directly. We have two departments, one for our own brands and one for our core business, and we both target directly according to the industries we are targeting.
Okay, excellent. Now, have you ever thought about working with a partner, sales partner in the country, or what is your strategy? What has it been, and where is it going? If you're comfortable sharing that with that.
Actually, I'm not familiar with any strategy partnering up with some individuals from Germany. I have done that before, but it never resulted in any business.
Okay.
For me.
Yeah. And it's sometimes hit and miss, and that was why I wanted to talk to you, because any strategy right now after COVID-19, if you're working with sales partners, your sales partners get nervous as well. And the German client will very often not open their door. And even if you talk to a German buyer, one thing that you have to keep in mind, and I don't know if you can agree, the buyer very often is not the only one making decisions. They have a German word that you have to be familiar with is Gremium. They always have people behind them that are making decisions. So the decision-making process is not always just the person that you have in front of you. Have you the same experience, or?
Yes, definitely. There is always a team behind it from R&D and also from the purchasing side. So together they actually present to the management, and then they decide together.
Yeah. So that is why the game right now has changed, because not only can you not get direct access to them, right now you cannot visit them. Are you doing online meetings with your clients or telephone meetings? How are you talking to clients in Germany right now?
Right now, everything goes as today through Teams, through Zoom. We also do desk audits. So that's a new step. That's quite a trust issue as well. But nothing will happen without that final meeting, which we're all waiting for to proceed then at the end.
Well, thanks a lot. I just wanted to have a quick word, because putting a face on some of your challenges is always important. Okay, let's mute you again, and thanks for
thank you.
Any other questions, Tina?
Miss Janja, thank you very much. Also from my side, Bjarne, I am kindly informing you that we have also the gentleman from Livar company, Mr. Duller.
Okay.
And yes, I'm just looping you together with the gentleman.
Okay, that's fine. No, I just wanted to comment that on the web page, you already have claims that sometimes are really good, but after COVID-19, I would say it's not enough just to have the claim on the website. You need to make it even more visible. And in this case, we saw SCASA even being able to do online meetings. And to me, that is also a sign that you have built a relationship, because a lot of buyers in Germany will either not see you at all, might have a phone conversation with their trusted agent, but it's really hard to get through them. So on one hand, they need new suppliers, but you cannot meet with them. So the online meetings, and I think you will see that that is changing, and the platform, like you also mentioned, Zoom, that I use as well, is now okay to use. This is a perfect way, and you can actually also show your samples. Like if I was selling silver, like I did in my first job, well, I could put a silver spoon into the camera, but where I maybe 2 years ago, I would focus on the pattern of it and show the design. All of a sudden, it was, if I should come out and make presentations about silver, I would all of a sudden change my marketing, talking about food safety. So the fact that the surface of a silver spoon is nanoparticles of silver, which kills bacteria, I would say, well, now that you have to invite your guests into your living room again, the safest way to do it is by serving the meal with silver. So all of a sudden, I would not focus my marketing on the design. I would focus it on the safety issues. When it comes to silver and silver ions and nanoparticles, this is used a lot in also the surface treatment of textiles. So for textiles, for the home decoration, you will see that a lot of companies actually are focusing right now on the surface when they deliver. There's safety issues in the surface and touching the material. Well, here you have really good reasons why people should buy your product if it's based on health issues. But if you're approaching the market, I will show you one sign here. I very often, when I look at the homepage, or I looked at your homepage, of course, I look at what kind of vision you have. A lot of you are showing me what kind of vision you have. But the first thing that I would look for is very often what product is it and what market are you actually servicing. And in a lot of companies that I looked at, you're focusing very much on showing your products, and I see the products immediately, but I don't have, as a German buyer, I would want to know exactly what is this product doing for me. So what are your production services, facilities also? Some of you are showing on your websites your facilities. I think you should focus more on what it actually does for the buyer and for the buyer's clients. But let's see if we can get someone else on the phone, because I think it would be nice to hear what kind of business model are you actually using, how are you approaching them. Precisium, unsere Qualität ist Ihre Spitzenleistung, I see as a claim. If you are listening in, I would love to just talk to you for a second. If they're not listening in, I can just comment on that. That is also something that I've done. They've done a fantastic job. Unsere Qualität, Ihre Spitzenleistung. Well, quality is always something that's soothing, is always good, and your claim is backed up. That's since more than 50 years you're writing in Germany. Have you produced precision technology? Now, that is something that goes along with the claim that I saw for Volkswagen, da weiß man, was man hat. So basically, without saying it, it completely covers that part of the Kopfkino where we actually are focusing on the safety. So if I should choose a partner, then that would be a very good claim to maybe even enhance a little bit and make bigger. Reflector, I also looked at the homepage. It says Innovation für ein besseres Licht. I don't know if you have anyone listening in that would feel comfortable maybe talking to me. Because what I wanted to talk to you about is that, again, your claim innovation. I would like to hear from your end what kind of experience you're having bringing innovation to the market prior to Corona, and how you're actually planning on bringing that to the table. I think here you need to be careful in how you're actually using innovation as part of your solution. But I like the fact that the solution, as a Lösung, is in focus in your claims. So there's a few companies that I've noticed don't have a German version. So instrumentation technologies, where ideas meet technology, I think you have very impressive references in the US. So if you are on the listening end here, then I would like to see if you would want to comment on that, because how does that translate into the German culture? That could be also interesting to see how you're dealing with the German market. So I'll just give it a chance to see if someone there is talking to me. If not, then I will just continue. And maybe later on you would comment on it, because that is an example where you have really strong references. And I think that if I were to approach the supply chain managers right now, after COVID-19, there's no question that it's a very impressive reference list. But here I would work on also presenting it with German references. Some of you have very strong German references, and that would surprise me. That would be something that would soothe me, comfort me, at the same time surprise me. And in general, throughout the workshop I've had in Slovenia, I'm very impressed in the professional way you're already dealing with the DACH region. Now, if I should challenge you a little bit, because I don't have you in front of me, but I would challenge you a little bit in your go-to-market strategy, and hopefully someone will comment on that afterwards. Because one peculiar thing I saw when I do workshops in Denmark, people are either going directly to the market or indirectly to the market. And the way that you approach the market in Denmark, I always call it, is the goofy strategy. And the goofy strategy is not a bad strategy. And Goofy playing dart, he throws a dart and then he paints the target afterwards. So sometimes we just go out, talk to people, and then afterwards we build our strategy. But I find that is a good way to just go ahead, and I think that you should do that the minute the borders are opening. You should go to your neighboring countries and look at the supply chain management, and then look at, can I talk to the clients directly, like we saw at Skasa, you talking to the clients directly, which is fantastic. But after a while, you might see that you need a partner in the country, or a so-called wingman. Now, if you're looking for a wingman, I find that approaching the market through an agent or distributor has the advantage that they can open up the door, they can visit the clients. Very often they would get the allowance also in the food industry, for instance, right now. Danish companies are really looked after right now for an alternative to the Chinese food supplier, but they're unable to take the appointment. But having an agent in Germany who can go and deliver the samples, and then you can hook up online through an online meeting and telling more about the background about the products, that to me is the way to approach the market right now. So the faster you can get a wingman, if you don't have the narrow connection to the German buyers, I think that now is the time that you need to position yourself as the potential alternative, the plan B, but also finding a wingman who understands the culture, can open the doors. One thing that you need to be able to do is have a partner guide and a partner pitch. So there's a difference selling your product and pitching your product, or pitching a partner, a partnership. I think that if you consider selling yourself as a supplier of a product, then you do your product pitch, but you should be able to present a partner guide, which is basically selling why they should be in a partnership with you. So an agent or distributor does not just want to know what your product is, but they also want to know what your partner approach is. I always say that a partner guide should ideally, and it doesn't have to be a big thing, but it should consist of 3 parts. Part 1, and I will send you pictures of this afterwards. Part 1 is where you make it clear to your sales partner, your wingman or wingwoman in Germany, what is your ambition for Germany? So if you cannot come up with a number, they cannot estimate, is it worth my time? The next thing is, okay, what is the target group that you're going for? So being clear about your target group is important. Next, you should see, okay, which of my products actually has features that caters to the COVID-19 problem right now. So what parts of my products are safety related, are enhancing their supply chain management. So anything that the product does towards the COVID-19 problems, pain or gain, I think that was fantastic. Skaza was already talking about pains and gains. You need to identify that. And then you need, of course, to know competitors. Are they coming from Europe? Then you're dealing with the same advantage you have right now as a plan B. But if your competitors are coming from Asia or the BRIC countries, that is where you really need to focus on your marketing right now. And then, of course, you need to present your team. Partnership part 2, I need to also be able to say, okay, who does what in this partnership? I think that having a digital tool to do product presentation completely changes. If you have a sales partner in Germany, well, you have to go over your function analysis again and say, okay, who takes care of the initial contact with the client? Probably the sales partner, because they already have a relationship. Who takes care of the production problems? It's of course your end, but anything in between and after sales, all of a sudden you have the opportunity to do Teams meetings, online meetings. You have to revisit that. Partner profile, what is the ideal partner profile? If you already have a partnership in one country or in a part of Germany, then look at it and say, okay, this is a perfect sales partner in this area. And Switzerland, Austria, and Germany, you might have different partner profiles. Partner value is something I would like to elaborate a little bit on, because very often we look at partner value as something that is only related to the revenue. I would like to share with you one exercise that I will leave you with. See if I can open it. Let's see if I can. I hope, Tina, can you tell me if you're seeing the slide now?
Not now. Before we saw it.
Okay.
Value.
Okay. Now you see it, right?
Perfect.
I think that if I should leave you with, so either you go directly to the clients, and I think that in COVID-19 is important you build your own relationships, but you will see that some will not, even though they have an immediate demand to have a plan B compared to the current supply chain. It is so frustrating that despite the fact that they are not able to see you right now, you have to send a partner. But why does the partner do business with you? So a sales partner, an agent, if that is your go-to-market strategy, why does the partner do business with you? And why do you do business with your partner? This is something that I like with Skaza. Also, you mentioned that the pain or gain. This is an exercise that's quite easy. First of all, revenue and earnings, the upper part, if we look at that, this is the easy thing to say. Okay, of course I have revenue, my partner can make money, that's fine. But the biggest issue, and the one that I would like to underline, a really important issue right now is risk. So if whatever you can do to reduce the risk of your clients when it comes to delivery, and it's not just in time delivery, it's everything regarding risk that's important. So the knowledge that you have, if I look at your websites, and I mentioned a few of you, you have had so many years of experience. That's a strong thing for any partner. So whether it's a client seeing a partnership with you or a sales agent needs to know what is your knowledge. And if you have a long time experience in a certain industry, that knowledge is of high value to your end client, but also to your agent or distributor. An agent and distributor and also a German client would always ask for what is your processes. So what is the computer system you're using in order to facilitate the delivery? So anything that you can show in the partnership that comes to processes, that's important. Brand issue is also a value that we sometimes forget. Coming from Denmark, we have a strong brand as a country, and I was struggling finding out what the brand is for Slovenia and what is acknowledged industries where you have certain competencies, but you have a strong story. Every time I visited you, it also surprised me how advanced you were in your technology. And I think that's the storytelling behind it. So think about what is the story that you can tell. And right now, the branding should be on der sichere Hafen. So the safe alternative, a neighboring country that is flexible, where you easily can adjust your delivery, your product. So the brand, the storytelling behind it should be important. And of course, the synergy, that if your partner already delivers a complementary product, there's a synergy. We tend, however, often always to negotiate on price. And that is where I really would like you to pay attention, to ask yourself a very simple question. I can make this available to you afterwards. One thing you should ask yourself, okay, what can the client gain or avoid when it comes to revenue? What can the client gain or avoid when it comes to issues about risk? So basically the partner value is like the pain and gain value proposition. So I think that you have to revisit in COVID-19. Prior to COVID-19, I had one value proposition for both my partner and my end client, but right now the partner values are different. So that's just what I shortly wanted to show you. But I think we're close to the end. And Tina, you didn't interrupt me, so I don't think there were any questions in the chat, but let's just see if there's some last minute questions. Tina, maybe you can go online as well. And
yes,
then
of
we
course.
can just
I'm encouraging our participants also via text, write something. Yeah, I mean, we have quite a nice community, and please ask their participants. So whether you have a question, as already mentioned, Bjarne also from Livar company, the gentleman is here with us. So maybe you can also discuss with him what you wanted before.
And if you're not comfortable with it, contact me directly. As I said, I've printed your homepage just to give you an immediate look at, if I were a German buyer, what would I see from this? So the questions can be in writing afterwards. I'm happy to make pictures of these signs for you, so you have it as a reminder. And although I'm trying to put in a little bit of a sense of humor in it, it's of course serious business. Coming through the COVID-19 and being recognized as an alternative in the supply chain management is hard work. But you have to work on the individual claim and value proposition. The partner value claim has to be clear. And also, of course, looking at all of your approaches, whether it's online, offline. How are you going to do this right now? Because now I would say within the next 3 to 6 months, a lot of alternative suppliers are being looked for. So I think although we're in a crisis and we tend to hide when we're in a crisis or run, that's a typical escape strategy we have. I think now is the time to get out of the gate and communicate really strongly that you're a strong alternative, you're a sichere Hafen in a turmoil ocean right now. So that concludes my presentation. I have cards all over my living room right now. And I just wanted to give you a chance, Tina, for maybe some conclusive words.
Mm-hmm. Dear Bjarne, thank you very much. Again, dear participants, this is actually the last opportunity within this webinar to really ask a question to give a question to Mr. Jensen or raise a topic that you find important or a burning issue. Please, we are really waiting for you now, because otherwise we are going to slowly conclude this webinar. As already mentioned, later on we will also develop another offline or online meeting with Mr. Jensen, and I'm really thankful to this webinar to you, dear Bjarne. I believe it was really very precious input for all the participants. according to the situation in which we are now. So if there are no questions, I don't see a raising hand or nothing in chat.
Now we have to say goodbye.
Yeah, I really thank you again, Bjarne. Dear ladies and gentlemen, as you probably know, we have, let's say, quite a dynamic series of the webinars. Next week, we are going to host our colleagues from AHK, Italy, and Great Britain. This will be the next webinar on the economic business outlook, and also we will host our colleague, Ms. Katja Stadler, on the German borders issue. So this is all from my side. I thank you again, dear Bjarne, and looking forward to cooperate with you also in the nearest future.
I'm looking forward getting out of the home office, so can't wait.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All the best, and see you soon, hopefully.